Weak states were always in danger and had to fight hard for their survival. It was considered normal for one state to conquer another and incorporate it into its own country. But with the passage of time, man became civilized, and in the 20th century, an institution like the United Nations was also established to resolve disputes between countries through negotiation instead of war. The last time many countries in the world widely, the borders were determined after the Second World War. And the shape of the world map is still the same with some changes as it was after the Second World War. After the end of World War II in 1945, have wars to conquer other countries in the world stopped, or have their nature changed? And can any country occupy another country or its territory in today's time? And even if he captures it, can he maintain it? A young American researcher, Dan Altman, who is a professor of international relations at Georgia State University, has released a very interesting and informative research paper with a complete research and data about it. Let us try to answer these questions in the light of this research. It is very clear that after 1945, there has been a reduction in the number of cases of a country openly attacking another country. Rather, there are only a few instances when one country tries to completely occupy another country. In the 1950s, when North Korea attacked South Korea and the allies of both countries joined the war, the attack ultimately failed because North and South Korea are still separate countries today. North Vietnam's invasion and subsequent occupation of South Vietnam continues successfully to this day. But perhaps the secret behind this success is that Vietnam was a single country until 1954. In 1954, it was divided into two parts, North and South. In 1954, the colonial powers divided the country, called French Indochina, into three parts under an agreement. It was divided into Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam. And Vietnam was further divided into North and South Vietnam. However, we can say that this is the only instance after 1945 when one country occupied another country, and it continues successfully today, and North and South Vietnam together became one country, the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. It was a matter of occupying the entire country, but if we talk about small-scale wars, they have also reduced a lot after 1945. There are three reasons why the number of wars to occupy another country's territory has decreased. Opposition to public opinion. According to a survey, 47% of Americans and 37% of Australians are of the opinion that if a country occupies the territory of another country, neutral countries should use their united forces to expel the aggressor from the territory of the occupied country. And 75% of the people of the same survey think that the most severe economic sanctions should be imposed on the occupying country. Civil laws. The second reason is man becoming civilized and applying civilized laws against wars and violence. In other words, today's UN rules have become very strict, and it has become very difficult for any country to occupy the territory of another. In 2014, Russia occupied the territory of Crimea, which is still intact today, but as a result, Russia is also facing severe economic sanctions, difficulty maintaining possession. Since 1945, if a country occupied the territory of another country, then in 80% of the cases, the geographical borders were changed. That is, as a result of 80 cases out of 100, the invading country would have absorbed the territory of the occupied territory, but after 1945 this rate has reduced from 80% to only 30%. In other words, even if a country occupies an area, the chances of maintaining it have become very low. Now the question arises that wars are happening even today, even if on a small scale, so how can we say that today's countries or people are comparatively safer than the people of ancient times? The answer to this question is also present in this research, and according to this, the nature of wars has changed now. Usually the attacking countries attack or occupy another country under two types of strategies. More than one country has a claim to an area or a dispute over the ownership of an area. This is the main cause of wars today. Europe's wars in the Baltic states, India, and China's Ladakh issue are all examples of this first reason or strategy. Another method in modern times is that one country deploys its troops on uninhabited or very sparsely populated areas of a large city instead of another country. The advantage of occupying a small area is that there is not as much noise around the world as it would be in the case of invading a large area or an entire country. And in this type of situation, the chances of the oppressed country's allies and friendly countries joining the war are also very reduced. According to research data, since 1945 till date, there have been 63 such incidents when a country has occupied a small territory of another, and in only 5 of these 63 incidents, the allies of attacked country has ordered its army to fire in defense of this oppressed country. Egypt, Syria, and Jordan against Israel in 1967 in defense of Palestine, and the fight between Turkey and Greece in the island of Cyprus in 1974 are examples of this. Compared to a small area, if the entire country is attacked, then the allies and friendly countries of the oppressed country immediately take action against the aggressor. The expulsion of the Iraqi army from Kuwait in the Iraq-Kuwait War and the examples of North Korea's attack on South Korea are clear proof of this. The First World War was started because of this. When Germany attacked Belgium, Britain had to join, and the Second World War also started with Germany's attack on Poland, due to which the Allied countries France and Great Britain jumped into the war. If we examine the cases of small-scale occupation, it also clearly proves that holding a small area is still a more successful strategy than occupying a relatively large area or an entire country. The chances of maintaining such occupation are up to 50%. In short, in case of occupying a small area instead of the whole country, the chances of war are less and the chances of successfully maintaining occupation are also higher. That's why in today's time, the effort of the attacking country is to try hard by occupying the small territory of the other country so that there is no war, and to maintain their occupation through diplomatic and political means. Occupying a sparsely populated or completely unpopulated area also reduces the chances of war compared to occupying or invading a heavily populated area. According to data from 1918 to 2018, when a country occupied another country's territory with a population of 100,000 or more, war broke out in 78% of cases, and if the same attack took place in villages with less population, only in 36% of cases, and in the case of uninhabited areas, only 9% of cases involved war. We can say that in the case of an attack on an uninhabited area, the chances of the country being attacked are very low compared to an attack on a populated area. This is why, according to the recorded events of the last century, it has happened for the first time in human history that there have been more attacks on unpopulated areas than on populated cities. In other words, this is also an important change in the nature of wars. We also learn from history that attacking a small or uninhabited area is not a guarantee of avoiding war. That is, we can say that using the tactics of not starting a full-scale war by occupying a small area can also be dangerous, and as a result, a full-scale war can also start.